The media making it very clear where they now stand on Biden's age and mental acuity. Take a look at the cover of The Economist, showing a walker with the title, "No Way to Run a Country." Their story titled, "Why Biden Must Withdraw," goes on to say, quote, "Mr. Biden deserves to be remembered for his accomplishments and his decency rather than his decline. So it is right that the first senior Democrats have begun to call openly for him to step aside." Beverly Hallberg is the president of the District Media Group and fellow at the Independent Women's Forum. And Beverly joins us now. Great to see you as always, Beverly. I think those of us who have been drawing attention to Joe Biden's mental acuity for the last 3 years are really, really confused as to why everybody else is just joining the party. And one Democratic strategist has an answer. He says, stepping back for a second, I wonder why the political press shifted so hard, so fast into an anti-Biden campaign. It wasn't the debate. They all knew he was 80 years old. The debate was the excuse, and I know it's personal pettiness for the New York Times, but what was it for the rest? So, Beverly, that's a great question. What was it for the rest?
Definitely a fair question. I think it's a combination of things. I think, first of all, the Democrats have told the press that it's okay to go with this narrative. You had commentators following that debate who were liberal, who came out and said that this was unacceptable, that Joe Biden is obviously off his game. And I think there's another major part of this, and that is when you look at the polling, you see that Joe Biden is not doing well, especially after this debate. And so I think that there's one crime Joe Biden can't commit, not whether or not he's actually able to secure this country, but whether or not he can actually win. And so when they see him losing, that is when they turn on him. And I think that's why we're seeing the tides go the way that they are.
But there is one common theme coming from those, quote unquote, defending Joe Biden. Here's what it is. Take a listen.
I didn't have a good debate. That's 90 minutes on stage. Look at what I've done in 3.5 years.
Obviously, there were 90 minutes of a poor debate performance, but that does not define the record of accomplishments. It does not define the vision that President Biden has.
So one bad night does not affect 3.5 years of a stellar accomplishment.
I can tell you that there have been more than a few Sundays when I wish I had preached a better sermon. But after the sermon was over, it was my job to embody the message, to show up for the people that I serve. And over the last 4 years, he's been showing up for the American people.
Beverly, putting aside the debate entirely, is that pitch right there cutting it with the American people that their lives have actually been good for the last 3.5 years? In other words, ignore what you're feeling in your pocketbook and just overall how you're feeling about the trajectory of our nation?
And this has been, well, first of all, no, this has been the problem of the Biden administration for the past 3.5 years is they often tell the American people that what you see and what you experience is not real, whether or not there's a crisis at the border, whether or not inflation is transitory or good or really not as bad as what you think it is. People know with their own eyes and their own ears what's going on. And so we've seen this gaslighting. And look, I think there's this place for people to say Joe Biden, that he wasn't at the top of his game, but to say that all of a sudden this has taken place when we have seen it for years, for months, even to the extent where you had the media saying that there were cheap fakes going around. Well, was that 90 minutes, that live 90 minutes, was that all a cheap fake? And so I think it's insulting the American people at this point. I think that's why we're seeing the media turn, because they also know that they can't keep a narrative that Joe Biden is running circles around his staff. We all have a family member who's gone through something tragic like this, where their mind is not as sharp as they age. And I really think the writing is on the wall for Joe Biden. I don't think the ABC interview that will air tonight is going to do any good. I think this is a matter of when and how he steps down, not a matter of if.
Yeah, as to that interview, even if he somehow channeled JFK, one of the great orators of our time in this interview, would it be enough to erase the stench of last Thursday's debate?
It won't. And part of that is because people don't trust the media. They don't trust that ABC and George Stephanopoulos are going to show us the true unedited form. They're going to wonder, how was this edited? What questions did Biden know ahead of time? Did his campaign and staff look at this video and approve only certain portions? I think unless ABC really did show it in its raw, unedited form, and unless Joe Biden was a completely different man and hit it out of the park, this does nothing. I think this is a Hail Mary shot, and I think we all know it's not going to really accomplish what the Biden administration hopes.
Beverly Hallberg, thank you for getting up post July 4th. We appreciate it. She mentioned raw interviews.